Hey guys! The purpose of today's video is to demonstrate how unreliable the protection provided by the locks that lock our doors is. We will show you how to open different locks with or without a lockpick. And of course, you can't do it without the knowledge of the owner of the lock. Let's start with lockpicks, since they are special tools that have the same purpose: to open locks without a key. The question immediately arises: how to choose the right lockpick for a particular lock? After all, there are many different types of locks and just as many lockpicks of different shapes and sizes. Actually, not everything is as difficult as it seems. After all of these lockpicks are only needed for one thing. You must be able to insert the lockpick into the keyhole and push all of the pins into the lock. The pins, by the way, are the pins in the keyhole that block turning. Once you understand this, choosing a lockpick becomes easier. If we take a lockpick that is too big, it will simply get stuck at a certain point, and you will not be able to reach all the pins. We take a smaller one. Oh, this one seems to work. After selecting a lockpick, you also need to find the tension. This is done by the same principle. The main thing is that it fits and is comfortable. Now, let us try to pick a very ordinary padlock. For convenience, we'll put it in a vise. This is a special training padlock. Thanks to the fact that it is transparent, we can see exactly where to press. Right now, the pins are in a chaotic order. When we insert the key into the keyhole, the pins will line up and allow you to turn the core and open the lock. Basically, you should be able to do the same thing with a lockpick. First, we insert the push and apply pressure in the direction that the lock will open. If you are not sure which direction to pull, try twisting the push in different directions. Our next task is to manually move each pin to the correct position. At the same time, slowly rotate the pressure. This will prevent the displaced pins from returning to the locked position. So, let's try it. At the same time as you move the pins, you should apply a little pressure. If you push too hard, you won't be able to push some of the pins. Then you have to release the pressure. You have to kind of feel the center. Now let's try it on a real lock. To be honest, it's a lot harder because in this case, you can't see where we're putting the lockpick. And these pictures were not taken the first time, but with due diligence, everything will work out. Now let's try to open the lock the way various spies do in the movies, using improvised materials. For example, hairpins. From the first hairpin, we will make a pressure. To do this, you have to bend it at a right angle with a pair of pliers. This can also be done with your own powerful hands. The second hairpin will act as a lockpick. To do this, bend the hairpin and try to get a more or less right angle. Remove the tips from the hairpin. Insert the hairpin about 1 centimeter into the keyhole, flat side up, and bend it sideways. This is how we get the hook that will push the pins in. Next, bend the other end of the hairpin into a handle. This is necessary to make it easier to use the lockpick. This is the end of the preparation. To open the pin, we took a cylinder lock. Such locks are often found on front doors. The further procedure is exactly the same. We insert the lockpick and start moving the pins with the lockpick until they are in the right position. But that's all in theory. But in practice? And in practice, we managed to pick the lock on the front door of our own hangar, so the method works. What if you don't have a hairpin? Then a pin will do. Bite off a piece. Bend the longer side of the pin. This will act as a hook. The pattern is as follows. With the hook, we push through the lock pins, and the pin itself, when released, does not allow the pins to return to the locking position. At the same time, the pin itself has good rigidity and also performs the function of pushing. The only inconvenience is getting the pin out of an already open lock. The lock can also be opened with a burner. In this case, there are no tricks. You have to heat the lock for a long time, and most importantly, try to heat the face of the lock. After a while, the lock will start to smoke heavily. This indicates that the springs that hold the lock pins in place have begun to burn out. Here you can clearly see that the front pin has fallen out of its cell. We need to make sure that all the pins fall out as well. Despite this, we were unable to turn the lock. But it opened easily on impact. Let's also take a look at the punched lock. This is also a cylinder lock, but its key is perforated. That is, if I may say so, horizontally. This example is also indicative, because for such a lock, it is necessary to use the appropriate lockpick. If you use such a lockpick as before, it will simply not get through, because the pins are too close to the top wall. So we will use a flatter lockpick and press the pins from the side. Otherwise, the procedure is the same. The next lock is already fundamentally different from the previous ones. It's a disc lock. The disc lock consists of a number of discs that rotate freely relative to each other. Each disc has a hole for a key and a slot for a special balancing rod. The disc lock is placed in a cup whose rotation relative to the body operates the latch. In the initial state, or in case of an attempt to open the lock with a foreign key, the balance blocks the rotation of the cup. When the own key is inserted into the lock and turned to a certain angle, usually 90 degrees, the slots in the discs form a continuous groove into which the balance falls. Unfortunately, the lockpick for this lock was not missed at customs, but it is worth knowing that such locks, although more complicated, are still breakable. Another difficult lock is the cross lock. The lockpick didn't make it through customs either. Apparently, the customs officials thought these were too dangerous items. However, we can show you how it works. It is organized the same way as the previous locks, on pins. The difference is that the cross lock has 4 rows of pins instead of 1. This means that it can theoretically be opened with an ordinary lockpick, but it is very long and requires skill because you have to press all 4 rows of pins. That's why they invented a separate lockpick specifically for cross locks. I hope we have convinced you that there is no such thing as an unbreakable lock. To increase the security of your home, you should install 2 or even 3 different locks. This will give intruders more time to open the door, or they may even give up. Well, the most reliable option will be a big and mean dog behind those doors. That's all for now. Bye-bye.